Did they ever tell you about that?
What?
The hollow earth? The people that live inside the earth?
Oh yeah, that's the next lot, yeah.
Well, like I said, I don't know nothing about it. I've heard about it. I heard about
Admiral
that.
Byrd.
What was that guy's name who went down and
Admiral Byrd.
they took his fingers off and things like that?
Schneider.
Schneider. That was it.
He said he worked at Dulce. And then...
Oh, is
So
that
what-
how you pronounce it? Dulce?
So what do you think of that?
I think there's a base at Dulce. I don't know if that he was there. I do believe there are enough reports, separate people reporting incidents,
That could have happened.
that Dulce probably has some alien greys and things, greys and reptilians working underground for experiments. They do genetic experiments, building. I think that's what the kind of stuff you're talking about in terms of the bodies.
Yeah.
Okay, tape 6, day 2, take 1.
Cheers.
Day 4.
I think that a lot of that happens at Dulce, but who knows? Like you say, it's like at that point it just becomes such hearsay that you can just say it's something going on, but I don't know what.
Well, that's what it's all about, you see. The idea is put so much information out, false information,
Mm-hmm.
it disguises the truth.
Mm-hmm.
As I said, if you put the truth into a barrel of lies and deception, you're not going to be able to find it, even if it was sitting on your knee.
Yeah.
You wouldn't recognize it. And that's what's taking place now. So the more people talk about aliens, and we cannot prove it, there's no proof of that, we're going to be forever searching in the wrong places. I'm not saying there isn't any. I know that there must be.
Yeah.
I've seen flying saucers, like I said, I actually saw them.
Yeah.
And these appear to be taken off from the ground.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the one coming down there, they were going up over. And I'm sure they'd been on the ground because they weren't that far off the ground, do you understand?
Mm-hmm.
And they were going up over. I didn't actually see them take off from the ground though. They were already a couple of 100 feet in the air, but heading upwards. And the lights were very, very similar to that on the back and front.
Glowing green and red.
Like I said, there was a, if we say they were that size, for instance, right, but the size of 2 football fields, they had there was a wide rim around, okay, and these lights it appeared to be at each end. But they were flat and like silvery,
Yeah.
silky, because the moon was shining on them as they were taking off. Absolutely looked fantastic, they were so quiet. That night there was no wind. All I could hear was some river in the background, and these things just move like that. Oh, and they were gone. And I'm standing, I was totally amazed. I just stood there, I couldn't move. I never seen anything like that. But the 16 just looked at me, not at them, and they just kept on walking.
Mm.
So obviously, you couldn't have missed them. They were too
Right.
too huge to miss.
That's because the 16 were aliens.
I don't know what I don't know what they knew at that point, but they just didn't take any notice.
Tell me about the first encounter with Ken when he sits you down, not the first, but the time that he sits you at the table and spins the coin.
Okay.
Tell me about that conversation. What he told you about.
Again, this is the first time I actually sat down and had a real conversation with him. Do you understand? This is the very beginning stages. Okay. I could hear them in the background using those sashes. They had turnips hanging up and things like that, anything so they could practice. And I always keep looking. He says, "Don't take any notice of them. Just look at me. I want to explain something to you, because what it is, the things that we do, you need to go through this program. We need to put you in control of your fear, because fear is the stumbling block in all these operations, you see? And like I say, you don't know what you're going to come in contact with, what sort of enemy you're going to become in contact with. So you have to be able to control your fear. This is a program called, we call it the fear elimination, and they said this, it's actually fear control, you see, but So anyway, they said, this is what will happen, what do you think of that? I said, yeah. I said, well, that's why I'm here. I said I would go through it, Well, let's tell you exactly what it is you're going through, okay? And then I explained that was bizarre, what he was saying. We're going to get your soul to leave the body, right? But at first, we need to control your conscious brain and your subconscious brain. So what we're going to do is, we're going to use this device, right? And we want to see if we can control it. We need to be in control of that. so we don't lose you. I thought, losers? Yes, we'll have people that in the past who's been contaminated in some way but were unaware of it at the time, just slightly, and we lost them. They died. They didn't come back. So he explained that to us.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think of that? And do you still want to go ahead with this? This is, yeah, okay. I felt as I could trust them. They seemed to know what they were doing, and I said, yeah, I'm all for it. So then he went into further details with us, explaining what I had to do, the feelings I would have. Don't get worried about it. Just listen to what I'm saying. You need to listen carefully, so I would stay in the position, because we're not going to tie you down, you see. So he said, let's take the first stage first, which is the fear elimination program. Let's see if we can control it. It was then, when they put this thing on the back of my head, he got out a pen, and I heard this, like a humming noise. Do you understand? Like a vibration that sounded like somebody's voice.
Yeah.
The voice gradually went into a noise, and the noise dwindled away to a high pitch, and then nothing.
Right.
That was it. The only thing I remember after that was one of the lads, Dynamo, who was standing next to us, saying, "Wake up, Geordie, come back, Geordie, come back, Geordie." And I said, I'm sorry, I apologise, I fell asleep there. That's what I said, I was apologising for it.
Yeah.
You see?
Meanwhile, you've been training.
And then I says, but I've got this, I said, I'm so numb. I said, I can't feel my arms. You see, he says, that'll gradually come back. So they poured us a cup of tea. I couldn't pick the cup of tea up at first. I was struggling, to pick up the cup of tea. But just prior to that, let's go back a little bit further than that, okay? He was telling us all about life on the planet.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I want to know what he told you. Yeah.
Okay. He had pictures of people, like old people in wheelchairs, people suffering from diseases, people who are dead, people who've been in accidents in planes and things like that.
Yeah.
And he showed us all that. He says, this is life, this is what happens, you see. And he was trying to convince me that life wasn't worth living.
Mm-hmm.
He went through everything. This is what a human being, this is what happens to human beings. And eventually, you're going to die. Whether you like it or not, you're going to die. So he got to the point where I picked up, he put a pistol in front of us. There was underneath where he was sitting, there used to be a drawer there, but it was just like a box underneath. Do you understand? There was no drawer there. But he put his hand and he brought out a service revolver and he put that in front of us. I was really tired then. I was really beat. And then I picked up the gun and I wanted to shoot myself because I couldn't see the point. He demoralised everything in life. I thought, well, I'm going to die anyway. What's the point? What's the point of getting up in the morning, going to work? Well, I know for a fact I'm going to die. So, I'm going to go through all that, like, and this could happen. There could have an accident. There could be, I thought, what's the bloody point? I was really convinced. I picked the gun and put it in my head, and he just seemed to know I didn't have the power to pull the trigger. And it was loaded.
Did you?
No, I picked up the gun. I wanted to pull the trigger, but he just put his hand up and put it to the ground, to the table, and took the revolver. He says, "What the hell are you playing at?" Oh, I says, "Wait a minute, what do you mean, what the hell am I playing at? You just convinced me that all of this is a total waste of time." You see? He says, "You mean to tell me that your mother struggled to produce a vessel?" And he changed his mind after that. He says, "Oh, you don't know about vessels. The vessel hadn't come up." But he mentioned the word vessel. A baby, you, to bring you into this world for nothing. He says, "You think your mother did that for nothing?" He says, "Why do you think you're here? You're here for a very good reason." And he started to talk about the reasons, You're here to experience life. You're here to make sure that this planet exists, that this life carries on. And he carried on with that. You see? Then I had another cup of tea, which is not, that bit isn't in the book, okay? Because then I was supposed to go and get trained, and I didn't know about it. I fell asleep. That's what, it didn't happen that way. When it come to killing myself, it stopped. They gave us another cup of tea, offered us a sandwich. I couldn't eat the sandwich. I sat down, got up, walked around, stretched my legs, came back. He says, "Are you ready now?" And I says, "Ready for..." I thought that was it. No, I said, "That's not it." Then he taught us about what I was just telling you about. You're going to go through this fear elimination now.
Okay.
Are you ready for it? And that's when they put the thing on the back of your head.
That led to the training. The first training, you had lost your teeth.
That's right.
You trained, and you didn't realize you learned the machine. But then, at what point did he ever lay out to you anything bigger in terms of the purpose or the plan? Exactly.
Well,
the meaning,
all he
the
said
meaning
about
of all
that,
this.
there were certain people that wanted to destroy the planet. That's what he said. You know, with various advanced weaponry, and he mentioned the word H-bomb and things like that. And that's what I thought the advanced weaponry was. I thought it was about, nuclear weapons.
Mm-hmm. And he said,
and the plans of these things were in certain hands, in certain people's possession, right? And we've got to retrieve them. That's what I was told.
Mm-hmm. But in terms of, there's a conversation in the book when he says, we don't work for any government. We work.
That's
right.
Like
basically
we are. Yeah. So our government, the British government. That's what he said. Not our government. The British government and the Western governments are on the verge of being taken over completely. We must find a way to stop them from doing this. So that's why you're here. This is why all this is secret. This is why nobody knows where you are now, except for a handful of people. Mm-hmm. So other than that, no one at your camp will know what's going on. No one. I'm talking about the people that I was working with, people I trained with. None of them would know anything.
Yeah.
As far as they're concerned, you are on a working party that you went out on, and you're going to come back 3 to 4 days or whatever, and then you'll go back and you'll say nothing about what's taking place. It was a few weeks later when I was really getting into the training well, I says, you know what, when I got back to the camp, somebody was trying to cause problems with one of my friends. Mm-hmm. And I got up and I stopped them. They saw things they never thought was possible. They were being attacked by this RAF lads, and they wanted to hit one over the head with a fire extinguisher. And I stood up and I disarmed them, threw one of them out the thing. And my mates just said, "What the hell was that?" I said, "You didn't see nothing. What was what? I didn't do anything. Mm-hmm. Just a sheer accident." You see? And then when I got back to the training, I said, I nearly slipped up, I nearly said something. "Oh, he says, tell them." I said, "What?" "Tell them.
They'll never believe you anyway."
"They'll never believe you anyway. They'll lock you up. You'll end up in the glass house." You see? So anyway, that's what took place there.
Which is why it makes me think that they must not have told you more about the secret history or whatnot. They must not have told you more because it wasn't so much that they were worried about you talking, it was that they were worried that your mind couldn't handle it.
Yeah, all they said, they always said from the very beginning, they use words like fuse. They said, "We don't know, the one thing we don't know about you is your fuse." I said, "Fuse? This is not in the book, I didn't know how to explain it." And they said, "Yeah, well, your body, your brain, your head or your brain is only capable of taking so much. After that, you crack up, it snaps. But you don't know. You're not aware how big that fuse is, how strong that fuse is." You see, so we've got to be careful. So what we're doing now is this first stage, where they implant the machine, mm-hmm. is part of that test. We want to see how you take that. If you take that, then we can measure how much you can really take. Mm-hmm. So once sorry.
You're taking your microphone.
Am I?
With your hands like this.
Oh, sorry, I'll not do it. Just leave it and I won't do it anymore.
Oh, it's just when you do this, you hit it.
Okay, I'll not do it, okay. So where was I?
The fuse.
Yeah, the fuse. Once you've gone through this first set, this fear elimination program or fear control program, once I'd been through it, is when they were telling us this. They said, now that you've been through it, we know how strong this fuse is. Mm-hmm. You understand? We can go a step further. but they couldn't do that prior to that because they didn't know whether I would crack up or not. They
Right.
wanted to see what condition I was in after they had programmed us with the machine. You see?
Yeah.
So after that, they examined us and everything, and they said everything was working as planned. They used words like that. So the second step was to put the machine back on us. They went through this similar process, and this is where the feelings were different. The noise was slightly different that was coming through. The vibe, the sound I could hear was slightly different. The first sound, like I said, when it sounded like someone humming, that was different. It was more echoey, and then that echo had turned into a louder sound. The louder sound disappeared into a very high pitch that seemed to just disappear. But it was when it was doing that is when I knew nothing until they woke us back up again. So the only sensation I had was, instead of the blood seemed to be leaving my arms in the first part of that test, the second part, it seemed to start from my feet, working up over.
Mm-hmm.
You see, so I think the first part was them taking control of me. The third part, where the energy was leaving the body, that's how I was feeling come from my feet. It was the whole energy sort of zooming up.
Yeah.
My head was shaking and vibrating, and that was it. I can't remember anything after that, apart from when they woke us up again and they said, right, close your eyes. They took this thing off my head and then put it back on again. Said, right, tell us the picture you're looking at.
This is when they were sending you back in time.
Yeah, they sent us
to different dimensions.
Yeah, to different dimensions, and like I said, my energy went into that person's body that had my DNA or whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
My energy could reach them.
Mm-hmm.
What their eyes was seeing was being transferred through like a cable, if you like. It was acting like a cable, and it was sending a picture back to my subconscious brain. When they switched that off, I had to bring it back, right? Then I opened my eyes, I relaxed, I just closed my eyes again, and then I heard the noise, I switched this damn thing on again. Then the picture arose inside my head. So whatever you do, don't open your eyes. Whatever you do, you must keep your eyes closed. And it was later on I said, why did I not have to keep my eyes? Why did I open my eyes at any time? It's just because you would have lost the memory. It's not meant to stay there.
Mm-hmm.
You see, 'cause it's just a short piece of film, if you like, I'm looking at. So this happened on 3 or 4 occasions where I went to different time levels. And when it was all done, I felt I had to lie down. I was shaking. I felt very, very weak.
Mm-hmm.
Felt as though my head was expanding, to be quite honest with you. For all of it, there was no electrical devices actually attached to us in any way, shape or form.
No.
I was never fastened down.
Just these six points.
Yeah, well, which was like 2 wires. There was like 2 wires with different attachment, other wires on with little pads on them.
Right.
That seemed to stick.
But what do they connect to? To a box or something?
Nothing. They weren't connected to nothing.
No.
All I had was on the back, there was a little piece of what looked like plastic. When he pressed it, I felt him pressing it against my neck to press it. I heard the click and it went clam onto the back of my neck.
And that's what the pen was all he needed.
And the pen, it was around about that size,
Like
but a bit
this.
thicker. It was thicker. Do you understand? It just resembled a pen.
It's a magic wand.
Well, whatever you want to call it. It was when he clicked it. It clicked. I heard the click, and then he started pressing it in. Is when the sound started to come.
Maybe it was maybe that's what magic wands are based on. That's the real technology, and magic
don't
wands
know.
are the replicas.
Yeah, possibly. Could be.
Magicians could use.
Yeah.
Why not?
So anyway, that's what took place. Like I said, we go back to the first stage where they had to know whether they could control these things. So when the programs with combat, they were also apparently, I don't know how they did this, but also with the psychology behind it, because I seemed to have that. I knew how to do things. Do you understand? I knew how to assess things that I had nothing to do with prior to that.
Yeah. So Ken only told you certain things in that context, but it seems like throughout your story, you heard your buddies would talk about it, but whenever Ken was around, it was like he didn't want you to know.
Yeah, it was. I think the terminology is you only need to know what you need to know. It's not necessary for you to need to know anything more, because it's more of a hindrance to society. You're being more danger.
Yeah.
What you don't know, you don't know. It's as simple as that.
Mm-hmm.
You see, so no one can get that information out of you.
Yeah.
So they kept lots of things. Well, I mean, I don't know. That's
but
the
then
trouble.
It doesn't make sense, because they knew. I mean, if they had been picked up or tortured, they could have had this. They could have given them.
Yeah, but I think they have learned through experience. They learned it when they went places. That's how they got. They weren't actually told about it. I think they developed it. You know, they were picking things up. That's how they learned it.
Mm-hmm.
So there were certain things that they couldn't keep secret because you were picking the damn things up. Do you understand? They couldn't say, "Well, we want you to break into the safe and take the money, but we don't want you to see the money." You know, it was a bit like that, if you like, or what's in the safe. They saw what was in whatever it is they were getting.
Mm-hmm.
They could see it. Therefore, they knew about it. They couldn't keep that from them because they had to go and get it.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. It was more like they just had more experience.
They had a lot more experience than me. You know, that 7, 8 years more experience than I had.
Yeah.
And they were 5 and 6 and 7 years older than me.
But now, do you
I
know?
was a replacement.
Yeah. So here's my question, though.
Yeah.
If you were assigned to them because your camp was on Cyprus and it was easy for you to
Elenja camp, yeah.
be deployed.
Sorry, yeah,
Right.
yeah. But I think all that was set up because we were supposed to go to Aden first. I was on a plane, ready to go to Aden.
No, but you got sent to Cyprus instead.
Like I say,
Right. It was a setup.
The plane engine caught fire.
Right.
You know, it did catch fire and we had to land in Malta. When we landed in Malta, I think we're going to land in Malta anyway. I'm sure we would, for either refuel or whatever. Don't forget, it was the old Dakotas we're using, you know.
Mm-hmm.
These old planes were all sitting there with our rifles and parachutes on our back. And
from World War II.
yeah. So anyway, we got orders. There was only 4 of us. Well, it was taken to Cyprus. The rest went on to Aden, where the Americans were.
Yeah. So you got obviously you were sent to Cyprus so you could be part of this unit, and they could snatch you up when need be. But were the other guys?
I wish you wouldn't say snatches up. I thought it was
that's snatched up. Yeah.
No, I was in a position to be recruited.
Exactly, but the point was that they could outsource. You were outsourced from the regular unit.
That's right.
By them, they pulled you in when they needed you. They sent you back to the regular unit.
That's right.
But these guys, the 16, were full timers. Not like you. They didn't go back to it.
I don't know where they went. They wouldn't tell us where they went.
Yeah.
Like I said, they used to play games with us when I asked them where they came from. You know, you obviously, and like I said, when I left altogether, on the very last day when I left, when I was leaving on the ship, I asked one of them, I says, "Where did you come from?"
He said this.
He says, "Where the best cheese comes from."
Yeah.
And I was so naive.
Yeah.
I didn't realise that there was so many cheeses made out here, which was pretty good. But they were so clever at that.
Exactly, like you said, they changed their accents.
That's right.
But so you didn't have a sense that when you went to the camp, for example, their camp. I mean, it was basically what it was.
I never saw their camp.
No, but where did you hang out? Where did you work with them in a tent? It was not a tent. It was a hangar.
It was a big steel hangar.
A hangar, right?
At the base of one of the Trudas Mountains.
Yeah.
It was approximately, I think it was 4 or 5 miles away from the radar station at the top of the Trudas Mountains. Because it took us up there once to do a bit skiing. Mm-hmm. I had to learn how to ski.
Well, if the hangar, you don't know if they were in the hangar full time or if they just came from.
No, they couldn't have been in the hangar full time.
So they obviously went somewhere else. Okay.
Oh,
so they just came to meet you.
The
guys
windows
met
were broken.
and worked there.
Right.
Yeah.
There was a concrete place outside.
Yeah.
It was falling to bits. There was lizards. You know, there's lizards jumping all over the bloody place.
Yeah.
Every time we pulled up. But when we got there was equipment in there. They knew what we're going to do and when we're going to do it. So when we opened up, there was there was a big yawn with tea in and everything. With meals, boxes with sandwiches in.
Right. It was
there was
prepared.
bins with different weapons in them. You know, all sorts of weapons. Yeah.
Now you said that
knives and everything.
the two that you hit the scientist in Egypt, the other one in Syria, those guys knew things about the tablets. They were part of the tablets. But the first one you hit were the terrorists in the mountains.
Yeah, all in Trudis Mountains.
Yes.
Yeah, they were just Greeks.
Did that have anything to do with the rest of the
No,
missions?
no. It was just to test me out to see how I would react.
To killing.
Yeah. Well, what happened was some. I think it was a couple of Americans as well got killed there. The bombs in Newcastle, some bombs went off and killed quite a few people, and apparently some information come back. So there was it wasn't a big cave. It was a cave up in the Trudis Mountains, where they had put. They never used these places on a regular basis. Do you understand? The Greeks. They put Grievous, that was the leader of the Greeks there.
Mm-hmm.
They had this. They used to put ammo or explosives in various different places, and every so often they would pick these up, you know, and dish them out through the
Like dumps, they'd have ammo.
yeah, dumps. Yeah. So they were aware of this dump being up in this particular area, and they said, okay, well, look at what this is just an exercise. We feel as though we need to do it anyway, because they're getting in our way. Apparently, I don't know how they were getting in our way. Something about they were getting close to the hangar, which I never mentioned in the book, right? Because I couldn't explain that. I didn't know what was really behind that. Someone was getting close to where we were training.
I see.
Understand?
So
So then they just said, look, we need to eliminate this slot.
yeah, you didn't want to be exposed.
That's
obviously.
right. So we went up there, and like I said, it's in the book how we did it. You know, the dog and how I took the puppies back to the.
No, it's
Yeah.
not in the book.
It is.
Not in the book I have.
Yeah, it's all in
No.
the book.
Strange.
Yeah, it's on.
You'll see the
It's in the downstairs. It's all in.
the
it's all in.
the chapter comes to an end right before you're about to go on the kill, and it jumps to another the next chapter jumps over it completely.
Does it really?
Yeah.
Well, that's George Green. It shouldn't. It tells you how we got in the caves, how I killed this dog. I went into this narrow cave,
Yeah.
and the water, because they had snow, you know, and the water was coming through the cave like a shower.
Yeah.
And I went in there to see if we could get up behind these people, you know. Some of the roof had caved in, and there was embankments like that inside with heaps of soil, where you could look over into the next cave. Do you understand? And I did that, and there was nothing there, and I was coming back out, and I heard this noise above the rain coming through, dripping through. Big white dog was on the top, and it was barking at me, looking at us, and it was pitch dark. We only had a small light with us, but with the moon shining through the cracks in the ceiling, it lit up. You know, I could see it playing, and it got angry with us, and then it started to slip on the stones and came down and went for us. You see, so I did the training I did for it. You know, I dropped on my knee, put my arm up like this, and took my knife out. And before it hits my arm, I buried it into its chest and I killed it. You see, the dog hit me, knocked us against the wall, and he knocked us out. And one of my team come and helped me to get the dog off us. And as I was leaving, I could hear this other noise.
The puppies.
Yeah, I went up and looked over the top, and it had a couple of puppies. So when we eventually executed these guys, when we eliminated them, I went back for the puppies. And they tried to stop us, but I had to go back. And
Yeah.
you saw the pictures of me sitting with the two puppies.
Yeah, yeah. I saw
Yeah.
that.
So that's what took place there, and they were really, really chuffed about how that was executed. They thought it was absolutely good. You know, I did some abseiling in pitch dark, going to nothing, and balancing on ledges and things like that. And it was all good fun. I enjoyed it really. It was good fun. Previous to me going through that training, it would probably been a nightmare for us. But no, the fear thing was working. They wanted to test us to see how they, you know.
Well, to see if you can kill, right? That was.
Yeah, to see what good. Yeah, I overdone
the
it.
test.
I actually overdone it, because I was putting so much energy in to eliminate these people. I made such a mess of them where I didn't have to. Do you understand?
Yeah.
It only needed quarter the amount of pressure or power behind it. But when this guy dropped, one of them said, "Jody, you definitely killed him." When his hand fell in the fire, this guy's hand fell in the fire, I jumped over and I kicked it out. He says, "What are you doing that? You know, you definitely killed him, he's dead." And I started laughing then. Yeah, it was a joke, you know.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
it was just a natural instinct for some reason.
We're here to kill. So, what do you make of the Bible then? In terms of, you think it was given to us by the original creators, or by the second group that created?
If you read the Bible, it's contradicted. It contradicts itself in lots of ways. I haven't read the Bible, other than what I hear about it and what I've seen. Do you understand? I haven't sat down and studied the Bible.
Right. But I mean, obviously.
I was preached it when we were at school.
Right.
You know, every morning I was saying Jerusalem. I wanted to know why.
Well, that's why some people would say, for example, that they come from different places. For example, we know that the Sumerian tablets talk about the same mythology of the alien god that came and created man and woman.
Yeah.
That the floods are the same accounts, basically. The flood, all these events are the same in the Sumerian tradition. And then, of course,
well, it would be, because the floods were there. Everybody would experience
right, exactly.
it.
But Abraham comes from Ur, from that region around from Iraq, basically, and he moves, and then, but then you come, then you have like a different history once it comes to Egypt.
Yeah.
And Moses obviously is now he's supposed to be Jewish, but he's really Egyptian, and he's moving his people from Egypt to Israel, which never existed historically. There was no evidence of a major kingdom in Israel.
That's right.
And how would the people be lost in the desert between Egypt and Israel?
There wasn't an Egypt prior to that neither. Mm-hmm. It was called something else apparently.
Right, but I'm saying if you look at where Egypt was, as far as, you know, the pyramids and whatnot, Egypt, Sudan, even that region, you can't be lost in the desert for 40 years between Egypt and Israel.
It's a lot of silly things,
right?
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
So exactly, so the whole point, unless they were lost in the Arabian desert maybe for some time.
Well, they weren't going to survive, were they? I mean,
so
you couldn't do that now.
So you think about this history and you go, well, there obviously, you know, there's something that happened, something mystical has been happening. Yeah. There's been contact with alien gods, whatever they want to call them, aliens. Jehovah is probably one of these alien beings. Yeah. But as far as your understanding of the two different gods, I mean, did the guys ever talk about the Bible in this context, or how you think it was built to control people, but the Bible was written to control people? But do you?
I brought this. I can't remember exactly. It's 55 years ago. I don't remember the words I used.
Yeah.
I do remember mentioning it, and I'm sure it was Chalky said, ignore it completely. He says it's just a control. He said it was a control mechanism that basically most of it isn't true anyway. It's just been manipulated, and he said the same is what I'm saying now, because that's where I more or less got it from, that anything that's in the Bible that's predicted will come true. They'll make it come true. That's what they said, not me. And I've always said it ever since. It just stuck there for whatever reason. It seems to stand out really clear when they said that to me. It seemed to make sense, you see. So they never really talked about the Bible. They thought it was a pointless exercise. Mm-hmm. They didn't think it was something we needed to discuss with other more important issues at that time.
Right.
Do you understand? The operations were taking place.
Yeah, of course.
Had to be executed properly. But when we seemed to be in a hurry to do it. I think they knew something was taking place. We managed to get two of these two objects, these emerald tablets or whatever you want to call them, and they were really happy about that. You know, they said something about, they've definitely delivered them, but I didn't know what they were talking about. And I said, deliver what? Oh, nothing. And then when we were just prior to raiding that compound, it wasn't a proper. It was a compound where they stored things. You understand? It was just like an ordinary office block inside. It was easy to overcome. You know, it wasn't built as a fortress as such. And they keep talking about don't forget it. And everyone's saying, I'll not forget it. And I said, what the hell are you talking about? What's this it business and that? Don't worry about it. It's not your concern, it's theirs. They're the ones who's got to get it. And I said, what's this it business?
Who's them? Who's it?
You've got to tell us what this it. No, forget it. Look, you've got enough worries. You've got, look, what you've got to do is concentrate on that damn truck just below the window. I says, why? Well, you're going to see why in a minute. And that's when I saw the guy coming out of the toilet, dragging his gun, and he says, right, now hit the truck. So I opened fire on the truck, and, I hit the fuel tank a few times and nothing seemed to happen. And then when he got upstairs and he's running through the building, the lights went all off. When the explosions, the rooms were about this size, and there was people firing guns out the windows, and there were some windows that were still closed. And when they were throwing the grenades, one guy actually came out the window and landed on top of the truck. When he hit the truck, the damn thing just blew up. I don't know, it was obviously a coincidence. It had nothing to do with him hitting it. It was a canvas covering out the back, and the thing just boom, it lit up the whole place. Lit up the whole. They switched the lights up, it was pointless. Everything was lit up. Yeah. And like I say, when he came out of he had the small light on here, red light. So we knew it was him that was running towards the gate, so we wouldn't shoot him. And that's how we knew it was him. He was shouting in Arabic. Again, we could have made a mistake and thought it was somebody else, but because he had this little red light bobbing up and down in the front, and he was shouting Arabic, and he opened the doors, and that's when the two guys suddenly came out off the road. Yeah, but it was
right before this battle that they were talking about. They'll come and get it.
Yeah, no. They said it's obviously here. We can get it because it's here. The new whatever
tablets.
The tablets.
Yeah, but you didn't know what.
We don't know where somebody had just delivered them, but they were obviously here because these guys were pulling up in this car, this military vehicle. That was there was wagons in front, behind with troops on. They're being guarded into the place. So they said, well, it's definitely they're definitely here. Yeah. And I'm saying again, what's this it business? What the hell are you talking about? Forget it. You don't need to know. So it wasn't until we crossed the river Jordan, that particular part where we crossed, got across and retrieved the rope again so nobody else could follow her, is when they showed us it. And I says, he says, he tapped, he says, that's it. And it was all, it was all sort of, there was nothing, they didn't do anything, they weren't serious, do you understand? It was like an outing to them. Mm-hmm. Do you understand? There was nothing, they were laughing and joking.
Yeah,
got them. At least we've got two. At least we've got two. And I said, what do you mean, at least we've got two? I said, well, what do you think we were doing in Egypt? I said, looking for damn documents. No. He said, well, what? I says, they tell us now. You're telling us now. So we've got to tell you now. You've seen these. So that's how it went.
Why couldn't they have taught you Arabic in the when you were?
Couldn't speak English now, mate. Arabic. I couldn't get rid of me. Hard to get rid of me Geordie accent. All I used to say was odd words in Greek, Ella, philos, that sort of thing.
But I'm saying that if you were doing a mission, you're going to Lebanon.
Well, they could speak Arabic. You see, they just pushed me to one side. I mean, don't forget the Arabic language changes slightly as well. It's like the English.
Of course, but I mean the point is you're posing as an Arab. You're darkening your skin. You're supposed to be.
Yeah,
Arab,
it's certain areas would do. Right? Yeah.
But why wouldn't they say, okay, let's put him in the fear reduction and teach him Arabic real quick?
All it did was when
play some Berlitz for him. While he's on the subconscious state, you come out. You at least know enough Arabic to pass in the market.
Well, it didn't do that for whatever reason. Maybe it was too much. Trying to put too much in. I don't know. I have no idea.
Or did they speak? Well, did they speak well? Or
I don't think they didn't. There's so many languages out there. Do you understand? It was pointless them ingrading me into this all of this language. It was pointless exercise. It was just an exercise that I was on, and I was probably never going to use it again.
Right, but I'm simply thinking, if you're on a mission, it's going to be life or
death.
The
idea was to avoid everybody, right? To keep out of the way of everybody. We didn't want anybody to see what actually. But even so, the two, I mean, not all of them spoke Arabic. There was only Dynamo in Chalky that, I mean, okay, Ken seemed to be able to speak well, came out in different languages, but Dynamo, he could speak Arabic pretty fluently. And that's all we needed. Like, as long as a couple of us could speak, it didn't matter. We wanted to be sitting having a conversation with these people. The idea was to get in and there and out as quick as possible. But they were saying there's so many accents out there as well. You've got to be, even the Arabs knew where the other Arabs came from by the accent, just like they do here in Scotland. And
well, of course, I mean, that's how we can distinguish.
Yeah, so, no, I mean, I learned, when I was out there, I did learn one or two Arab, phrases and what have you. It's like you say, it's like the Greek I study, I find it hard now to remember some of the Greek. I remember some of it. It sometimes comes back to this, and it's it's like French. I can make myself understood, and because I've been there skiing.
You can make yourself understood in French. You can barely make yourself understood in English.
That's the trouble. I'm trying to make people understand me in English. I'm really struggling here. Honestly, I am. The Geordie accents.
You know why I think you were picked up?
Go on.
The 16? I think that you're a leprechaun, and they recognized you. They said, "Here's a lucky leprechaun. Let's pull him along."
Yeah. Okay, I was a lucky charm, was it?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Lucky charm.
Yeah. But again, you see, the skills I've got, right? You've got to, like that SAS officer said, which we improved that, by the way. I can get this verbally off the guy who was there from the Britain, the David Golding.
Yeah. From
Britain, I can get him to tell you that. Now he said, wherever these skills come from, these are SAS officers, they must have been geniuses. That was his word.
Yeah.
See, so where did I get them from? Digging holes in the desert? I don't think so.
No, I don't doubt that you were with those guys. Let's pause it.
2.
Okay. Just to try to understand a little bit more about who the enemy is, who are the people or aliens or whatever it may be that are in power, that are the enemy of mankind, basically. Right.
So you're asking my opinion, what I think is in charge?
Because obviously the 16 talked about it, but they didn't specify. They never gave you any kind of description to know who they were, what their history was.
No, we never went into any of that. Again, they were training me from scratch. I had to learn the psychological side of the operations we were doing. So, they hadn't time to do like talk about history or anything like that,
Mm-hmm.
I think they obviously seemed to know what exactly was taking place. They were obviously fully aware of it. It was, when we went to certain countries, it was what they were looking out for. Their approach to doing something didn't seem to be the sort of things you would do. For instance, there's places where we could have been dropped off by helicopter and they wouldn't do it. We always had to go in by small boat or something like that. Not because of there was something else. I don't know what it was. And they said, no, we can't do that. No, this will happen. So strange things seem to be stopping them from doing certain things.
Mm-hmm.
But I could never work out what it was exactly. Like I said, the whole thing, even within the group itself, it all came over as light-hearted. It was always light-hearted. The second I brought certain subjects up, it was jumped on. It's always like you say, don't talk about that. But I believe that they were fully aware of who the enemy was, if you like, or who was trying to take over. The only information I ever got at any, I think it was Operation Pinprick. When I stuck the needle through the guy's chest in Beirut, or near Beirut. They they had mentioned if only we had their technology, we wouldn't have to do it this way. And I said, who are you talking about? I said, that again, I keep saying that, I keep forgetting you don't know. And I said, I don't know what. It doesn't matter. You know, we couldn't tell you if we wanted to, you see. But we had this technology, we wouldn't have to be doing it the way we're doing it, you see. But we've got to stop them from getting it. I says, who's them? Again, they just, look at, never mind, let's get on with this.
Yeah.
That sort of thing, you see.
Exactly. So the whole point is that these beings have more advanced technology than what.
That's, well, like I said, I was a young lad, I had no idea about beings, do you understand?
Yeah.
It was when we got in Jarraba, and I saw those two things flying off, these two huge flying saucers, like
you're like,
things.
wait, there's something else going on.
Well, there's something more strange, you know. None of them looked up as though they expected it. Do you understand? One of the masters said something about, it's been delivered, you see, and I said, what? No, it must have been delivered. And I said, what are you talking about?
So you think those craft delivered the Emerald Tablet?
I never like to say that. I never like.
But you think maybe that's what he was saying. That the two craft were delivering those tablets.
Well, it could have been. I mean, it's a possibility.
Because he said they'd been delivered.
Yeah, they said, oh, it looks like they've been delivered, and I didn't want to talk any more about it. I didn't want to put it in the book because that's as much information as I had, and I like to try and prove things if I can. And the other proof was Richard D. Hall spoke to a chap who was in the radar station at that time, 1959, who was in the radar station on the top of Trudis Mountains, followed them. They had followed them. Jet fighters had chased them. I'll get you that information.
Oh, so he verified it independently.
Yeah. I mean, don't forget, I knew nothing about this chap. I've never spoken to this chap. In fact, I've even forgot his name, but I will find out. I'll get it for you. I'll get the recording for you if I can.
Yeah.
But Richard D. Hall has got that recording. And they'll tell you, that's why this chap, when he was in the radar, had something to do with the radar. I don't know exactly what. But he knew that the radar had followed these flying objects right across Cyprus, right across the Middle East. Jet fighters had chased them. And this is what made this guy, when he came out of the army, starting to look for into flying saucers. That's what made him take it up. He's doing it now.
Yeah.
This same guy was the guy who investigated when they found these animals that had been, stripped and drained of blood. This guy has been investigating for years now.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got proof that there was flying objects there, right, at that time, exactly the same time, 1959.
Yeah.
It was 1959. It's when the snows were melting, okay, in the Syrian mountains. It's when the River Jordan was full. That's when they saw them as well. At the same time as they took off when I was there. Mm. So they've been followed by radar.
But either way, the point is that the enemy that they're talking about is something that has no allegiance to any one country. Have you ever read the Protocols of the Elders of Zion?
No.
It's interesting. If you read that, I'd be curious to know what you think, because
that's
been said. Obviously, it's said to be an anti-Semitic tract that people can't that the Russian government concocted. My theory is that the protocols are something that they may have replicated from some other document, but it's based on the idea that the elders have very anti-human point of view. It's about manipulating and controlling mankind, and how to basically how to control them and then ultimately destroy them. Yeah,
they obviously take over a race of people that are clever at what they do, or they're not going to take, and this is not a racial slur, they're not going to take over some Indians or somebody in Africa somewhere in the jungle. Mm-hmm. They were looking for a race of people at that time who were clever at manipulating things or, improving things. Mm-hmm. And I think that's exactly what happened. I think the Hebrews were taken over Where the word Jew came from, I'm not absolutely sure, but I think this is what these people were called at the end of the day. They were called named Jews, and I think these people, like I've heard it and I've seen it in various places, they came from the heavens and mated, and they were the chosen ones. That's how they got the name. It wasn't God that was choosing them, it was these creatures who appear to be of God, and they're the ones who chose them. You see, and ever since then, they've been working for them, but they're unaware exactly who they were working for. That's what I believe. But that's only my belief. It doesn't really, I've got no evidence of this whatsoever. Only what I see and what I hear.
Yeah.
It seems to add up. It seems to work. So a lot of Jewish people are working for them, but they're unaware why. They've been told a lie, I think. I think they're being used and manipulated.
Right.
You see, just like the Knights Templars, how they did that. They formed an army. They left that army. The French government slaughtered them, thinking they were killing the real Knights Templars, but they weren't. You see, they put somebody else in their place. They've done it quite a few times. They do that on a regular basis.
Right.
You see, it's very good. They get other people to do their dirty work for them. So I think that's what's taking place right now.
But you talked about yesterday about the second, the first gods that came, the second gods that invaded thereafter, and this idea came from where? I mean, how did you learn this?
Well, what it was again, it was for the 16, because I was curious. As I said, I had very little schooling. I think I spent about 5 years. Don't forget, I was born in 1938, 2 years before the war. When I was old enough to go to school, the war had already been in progress for 3 years. So I actually started school during the war. I was watching bombs dropping in parts of Newcastle. And I was old enough to remember them and see them. So the schooling system at that time, food, we had very little food. I lived in a house where, you can imagine 2 stairs leading up to a top flat, if you like, 2 rooms, okay? That's all we had. We didn't have electricity, we had gas mantles. The little white mantle, if you touch it, it broke. When you had one of them, we had a radio which had one program, one station. That was it. Water was in the backyard downstairs, down the back stairs. That's where our water supply. The only thing we had in that house was gas. We had an open fire, a coal fire. That was it. Nothing more. We couldn't go around switching lights on or have a bath. We had a tin bath. That's all we had. You're talking about late 40s here. That's what we had. And we had that right up in 1952. So we moved from there to where I'm practically living now. You see, and then we moved into a 3-bedroom house with electricity. My mum couldn't believe it. That's not that long ago. That was yesterday. Basically, you see. So you've got a young man who, had very little time at school, had no education whatsoever. My first job, I left school when I was 14. I could leave school early because my mum didn't have any money. So, I could leave early. I started work on a farm. So I was working on a farm for approximately 2.5 years. Starting very early in the morning. I had to walk to work because most days then was snow. I wanted to be a mechanic, desperate to be a mechanic. There was hardly any cars on the roads then, but I wanted to be a mechanic. So I tried to get a job in a garage just up the road from here. And I found I was doing cleaning dishes and greasing cars more than I was learning to be a mechanic. Because, because it was a trade, I didn't have to go in the army. So when the National Service came along, it was my mum who said, "You're better off, I think you're going to be better off joining the armed forces. You're going to see the world, you're going to see parts of the world you've never seen, and it'll be a good experience for you." So I said, okay. At that time, I was stammering, I stuttered a lot because of my dad taught us. So, I was a gymnast when I was at school. The only thing I qualified in, I had a good record. I was good at metalwork, woodwork. I was a good gymnast, you see. But other than that, I was pretty naive. When I went in the armed forces, I went from a medical, past the medical. They said, "What do you want to go in?" I wanted to be in the Royal Electrical Mechanical Engineers.
Mm-hmm.
You see,
Yeah.
because I wanted to be a mechanic. I put my name down. They said, "Oh, it's looking good. You know, like so you're going to get in that." Oh, this is great. When I actually joined up, I ended up in the Pioneer Corps. So what happened there? Oh, we're short of men. Nobody wanted to volunteer for that regiment. You see, that was the excuse they gave us. You see, so again, when I went in the armed forces, I was really naive. I didn't know much about history. I didn't know much about anything.
Yeah, no, I understand.
You see, so when I actually joined, I got involved with the 16. I was full of questions. You know, I was still really naive to exactly what was going on, but you know, I thought I was fighting for my country, and I thought, you know, it's a good thing to do, and you know, and like I said, I've never drank before, never, and I ended up in the 16 for whatever reason, I don't know, but I ended up there. I had the right qualifications according to them. I was a keep fit guy, right? Never drank, never smoked. It was perfect. And the fact that I was pretty dumb, they could show me anything.
I was going to say, you didn't realize when they said that they knew you never drank.
Yeah.
It's like you got to wonder how the heck do they know that?
Well,
I mean,
that's a question I can't answer.
Right?
I'll be honest with you.
It's like, well,
and I'm not going to make anything up.
That's not. I mean, on your medical, I guess you might have written, you're not a drinker, but how would they know that you never drank? You know,
I don't know. It just did. They knew everything about us. In fact, when I was sitting, I remember I was sitting having a cup of tea with them, and I mentioned, "Oh, we know all about that." I said, "What? What do you mean? I haven't told you." "Oh, we know all about that." So I was rather surprised.
Yeah.
You know, it was something to do with working on a farm. I said, "Oh yeah." I said, "Well, you know, when I said, oh, by the way, yeah." I said, "No, I was shooting on the farm." We know that. And the other ones looked at the other one and said, "Shut up." Because I was a marksman.
Yeah.
When I went on me, the basic training, army basic training, they put you on the rifle range.
Yeah.
I got me cross rifles within a week. Of course, again, I had been around guns quite a lot. You know, so I was a sort of acting gamekeeper when I was 17.
Yeah.
So I just walked around the fields every day, you know.
But like I said, in terms of the second invasion, the idea of the second round of gods that were more deceptive, that were kind of like hijackers in a sense, right? They hijacked the creation. Is that what kind
as
of?
Far as I understand it, all the other races were here when they came. Do you understand? They might not. The size of this population would be rather small. Do you understand? They wouldn't have spread right across the. If you, like the Chinese race, it's really the Japanese and all of them are the same race of people, and gradually moved for thousands of years and created their own little environments. But it was before then, I was told, that they actually the first came. So that's all I was told. They came quite a while ago, and then the second time they came back was when they had something to do with the Hebrews, when they took over them. I don't know what happened there. They couldn't just come back and forth when they felt like it. So the second, when they came back, it wasn't as though the first time they come, something went wrong and had to come back. But they couldn't come back immediately. It seems to take hundreds of years for them to come back again for whatever reason. Something was preventing them from coming back and forward.
Could be something to do with the timing.
Could be time.
We talked about the location of the Earth in terms of planes, and that's why they say polar shifts occur every certain, so many thousands of years. There's ice ages.
Exactly.
It's the same thing with travel, I'm sure, in terms of this kind of space travel. But the point is that their bodies can handle. So their bodies couldn't handle being here. So but the point is they've been in human form since they've been here.
That's right. That's right. That's exactly it. They had to get into. They had to change the DNA. They had to put their DNA into the human body somehow, and I think that's how they did it, by mating. Their DNA was more powerful, so when they had children to these people, their energies would come back into that human body. And that's how they did it, as far as I understand. That's how they worked it. So after a while, by the time they keep on mating, having children, that group of people obviously expanded. And but the real race of people, the real alien type person that you're talking about, the ones I showed you in that picture, you know, those strange looking people with huge nose, big ears and that sort of thing, they're the ones apparently that came here. That's what I was told, and that's why, like I said, they were so obvious to see. You know, you couldn't mistake them from any other human being the way they looked. So they had to come in disguise. So they had to take over human bodies by, you know, mating with them, having children, and that's how they did it. You know, that's what I believe. But they say I have no concrete evidence of that. And I'm very reluctant to go into these areas because of that. I like to get more evidence on that. Do you understand? I like evidence. I like proof before, you know, I won't take it on board until I have some actual proof. But there seems to be a lot of evidence in regards to that. So I will talk about that because there is a certain amount of evidence. If there wasn't any, I wouldn't even talk about it. I refuse to talk about it. But it's still a bit not sure. Do you understand?
Well, of course. I mean, it's difficult to be sure, but at least you know, telling what you know is helpful, because then we cross-reference it, or we find other sources that.
Yeah, there is tablets, but they look nothing like what you see on YouTube. They're not big lumps of green-looking glass-type things. Do you understand? That's not what I saw. It's not what I believe are the emerald tablets. I don't think any Tom, Dick or Harry would have these things. Do you understand? I don't think they'd be floating about on YouTube for a start.
No, I'm sure.
And again, remember what I said to you, if you look at them, it's so childish, there's no advanced technology there. You cannot see it. It's rather childish. Do you understand? If you look at the tablets I saw, they were like a DVD disc in a sense. You know, they weren't round, but the markings on them, when I see the DVD disc, it reminds me straight away of those tablets.
Yeah.
That's how they would come. They wouldn't come with, you know, superimposed writing on it and, you know, silly things like that. They look silly. They don't look real at all. You know, I don't know where they came from, but I think it's just somebody, you know, I think somebody tried to copy them or found this green glass and did something with them. I don't know. Have you ever saw these things in real life? Have you?
What?
These
Okay, just hold that moment.
these green tablets that's available?
Sure.
No,